Good afternoon and welcome to our information afternoon for Year 2. I'm Mrs Thompson, one of the Year 2 teachers and joint phase leader of Key Stage 1. The rest of the team are Mrs Downer, who job shares with me in the Zebra class, and our LSA is Mrs Shields, and then Miss Curtis and Mrs Parish are the teachers in Giraffe class, and their LSA is Mrs Jenkins. In Year 2, home learning tasks are kept as simple as possible and provide a chance for children to practice the skills they learnt at school. Reading is the most important thing, you reading to them and them reading to you. As much reading as you can do sets up your child to do the best they can in both their reading and their writing and in access to all other subjects. Bedtime stories really do make a difference for their language acquisition and their understanding and comprehension. Maths tasks, we set one a week. We also use number bots for maths, and it's a really good way of your children being really confident with their number bonds. For spellings, we set weekly spellings which match the graphemes we're learning in Star Time and use Spelling Frame. At the moment we're using Spelling Frame for all our spelling tests, but that may change as we go through the year. And then for English, there is a short English task related to something again that we're doing at school. It could be a short reading comprehension or something relating to spelling and grammar. All these tasks shouldn't take any more than 10 to 15 minutes a night. Please don't spend any more time than that. If it is taking your child a bit longer, just write a little note at the bottom and say we stopped after 15 minutes and this is how much was completed. Reading is the most important skill we can help your children with at primary school. Many studies have been conducted and they all show that reading is in direct correlation to their success in later life, GCSEs, A-levels and on to degree, so it really is important. Choose the best time for you and your family. Some children are up really early with the birds and they do better to read first thing in the morning before they come to school. Other children like to snuggle down in the evening when they've had a bit of a snack when they get home from school and tackle their reading then. You know your children best and your family commitments. Little and often is much better than reading the whole book. When they're on the lower levels of book, they are quite short and they are easily doable in one session. But as they get longer, take a chapter or take 4 or 5 pages and just really focus on reading it well. Read it once, read it again for fluency and talk about it. What's happening? What are the characters doing? Have they ever been to a place like that? How are the characters feeling? Are they happy? Are they sad? Why are they sad? Let them have a chance to look at the pictures. They get so much more extra information from the pictures and it really helps with their comprehension. If they're not keen to read the school reading books, that's absolutely fine. Choose a book from home. They won't be as closely matched to their reading ability, but it's great for them to pick up a book and just read for pleasure. The other important thing is for them to see you reading. Let them see you read the newspaper or read a book and read to them. It really is a lovely thing to do at the end of a day and really helps them with their language. Our Maths Safari shows the key mental maths skills that we like to encourage all children in Year 2 to develop. Manipulating small numbers in their heads really does help them with their maths. They need to be very secure with the early number bonds and then see the relationships between number bonds to 10 with number bonds to 20 and number bonds to 100. Many parents ask us how best they can support their children in maths tasks at home. Lots of the methods we use are different to the ones that we were taught when we were at school and it can be quite tricky to know what to do. The first thing we'd say is ask the children to show you how to do it. You be the child and let them be the teacher, and then you can get your head around how we would do it with them at school. If they don't know what to do, please don't worry. Just send us a message and we'll talk them through it again the following day, or we can give you a call and talk you through it as well. Equipment-wise, we really do encourage the children to have things to help them. At home you can find pieces of dry pasta, they can count pencils, they've got 100 squares, anything they could use to help them really visualise the numbers that they're working with. We also use jottings at school so they can draw the number. We use images like part whole models and bar models. Hopefully they're all things that they can show you. Here's an example of one home learning task we might set in Year 2. We'd give the children 4 numbers and we'd tell them that Max adds 2 of the numbers together and his answer ends with a 5. And we'd say, which numbers did Max add together? And we'd look at that question and think, what is the most important information? Well, the important information is that the answer ends with a 5. So really the only digit they need to look at is the ones digit. And we'd then look at the ones given to us at the top and notice we've got an 8, a 3, a 7 and a 5. And we'd see if 2 of those numbers would make 5 ones. And then we'd try and add the whole of the 2 numbers together. We're always talking about patterns in maths and saying things like, I noticed this, or I wonder what would happen if this works. We don't expect them to get the right answer straight away, and we tell the children that mistakes are good. We don't let them cross them out or rub them out, we just get them to write a little sentence next to it. This didn't work, have another go. It's all about exploring numbers and keeping going. Don't give up. This task is a perfect example of one of the questions where we ask the children to find all the possibilities. We'd start in the classroom by asking them what they might need. Have we got some buttons that are those colours, or have we got some cubes? Some children might suggest using 3 different coloured pencils so they can record the order that the buttons were done up. As they work, we then encourage them to keep looking back at the ones they've done before, so they check that there's no duplications. And the most important thing is keep saying, can you find any more? How many do you think they are? How do you know you've finished? And just let them explore. Are there any patterns? Did they keep anything the same? And then we make some predictions. I wonder what would happen if we had 4 buttons. Would there be more possibilities or less? And we'd wonder why. This is a simple example of a SPAG task, SPAG being spelling and grammar. Here the children just have to look around for nouns and then put them into 3 categories. Nouns that are people, with a capital letter at the beginning, nouns for places, again with a capital letter, and then just general nouns like sandwich or teddy bear. Children need to be aware of and use various types of punctuation in Year 2. They include a capital letter at the beginning of a sentence and for a name, a full stop at the end, an exclamation mark or a question mark, an apostrophe for singular possession and contraction, and commas for lists. They also need to know the 4 main sentence types: statements, exclamations, questions, and commands. This is an example of a reading comprehension task in Year 2. The children would be expected to read all the information in front of them and comment on the different ways it's presented, and then to answer the questions. We'd get them to read through the information first and then look at the first question, and we'd get them to read the question and then find where in the text the answer was. They would then use the text to answer the question, being very careful with their spelling. The end of Year 2 is also the end of Key Stage 1, so at the end of the year we're required to assess the children in all the key areas. Informal class assessments are used for English, for maths and for science, and the teachers use all that information to give a judgment that best fits that child. At the end of Year 2 you'll be given a report, and in that report it will tell you if your child is working towards the expected level in the different areas, if they're working at the expected level in the areas, or if they're doing better than that and actually they're working at greater depth. We use those in different ways. Obviously they can predict what the children will get at the end of primary when they get to Year 6, but it also shows us which children need a bit of extra help, which ones maybe aren't getting expected level at the moment, and how we can best help them to get to where they need to be by the end of Year 6. Children will complete their SATs or standardised assessment tasks in May next year. These are conducted in the classroom with their class teachers and their LSAs. There's one for reading and for maths, and then there's an optional one for spelling and grammar. We're allowed to read the maths questions to the children, because obviously it's not a test of their reading, but the reading task they have to read by themselves. Paper 1 is much easier, with very short sections of text followed by the questions relating to that. But then there's a longer paper where there's a lot more writing, a whole A4 page to read before they have to answer the questions. All the homework tasks we set in Year 2 build up to these. So at the moment we're giving them very short tasks, but by the end they'll be expected to read a little bit more. All the reading they're doing on a one-to-one with yourselves at home and us at school also help them to become the confident readers they need to be. SATs don't worry the children. In fact, often they don't even know that they've done them. They actually like the books. They get to read and write in books with coloured pictures. Normally we say to them, don't write in there, and they really enjoy the stories that are in there. So it isn't a stressful time for them at all. We just ask you to keep things very light at home, make sure they've had a good night's sleep, and actually not to talk about them at all. We find that's the best way. We hope you found this useful. If you do have any extra questions, please do speak to one of us or send us a message on Class Dojo and we'll try our best to help. We're really looking forward to working with your children this year.